Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and her supporters in the Bronx on Tuesday night. A 28-year-old political newcomer, she staged one of the most significant Democratic upsets in years. Credit David D. Delgado for the New York Times. Want to get this briefing by email? Here's the sign up. Good morning. Here's what you need to know. A major statement on presidential power. The Supreme Court has upheld President Trump's ban on travel from several predominantly Muslim countries, saying on Tuesday that the president's power to secure U.S. borders was not undermined by the incendiary statements he made about Muslims. The court's liberals denounced the decision, which Justice Sonia Sotomayor compared to the 1944 ruling that upheld the detention of Japanese Americans during World War II. Korematsu v. United States. That decision has been almost universally recognized as a shameful mistake, and the court overturned it on Tuesday. The 5-4 ruling on the travel ban, combined with a separate one on Tuesday in favor of opponents of abortion, validated the Republican strategy of blocking President Barack Obama's nomination of Merrick Garland to the Supreme Court. Mr. Trump's nominee, Justice Neil Gorsuch, voted with the majority in both cases. Image protesters outside the Supreme Court on Tuesday. President Trump's first travel ban, issued a week after he took office, was promptly blocked by courts around the country. Creditor and Schaff for the New York Times. The ruling is likely to lead to a high-profile battle with the Justice Department, and it raises the stakes in what has become a political crisis for the administration. The House is set to vote today on a far-reaching immigration bill that is all but certain to fail. In the Senate, Ted Cruz and Dianne Feinstein have long butted heads, but they're leading the effort to address family separations at the border. President Trump has repeatedly claimed that Democrats want open borders. We looked at what they actually support. Who is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez? That's the question on a lot of minds this morning after the 28-year-old political newcomer pulled off a major upset in New York's Democratic primary on Tuesday. She defeated Representative Joseph Crowley, who had been seen as a possible successor to Nancy Pelosi as the party's leader in the House. Ocasio-Cortez, a former organizer for Bernie Sanders' presidential campaign, has declared it time for generational, racial and ideological change. Mr. Crowley, a 19-year incumbent, is twice her age. Here's what we know about the woman who could become the youngest person ever elected to Congress. The primaries highlighted rebellion among Democrats and rewarded loyalty for Republicans, as two incumbents favored by President Trump won. Here are 4 takeaways, and full results from the 7 states that voted. Getting by where money is worthless. Nicholas Casey was once the Times' bureau chief in Venezuela, until he was stopped by airport officials a year and a half ago and kicked out of the country. He has returned for a visit, to find out how Venezuelans are holding on as the country falls apart under President Nicolas Maduro. Inflation makes buying a single cup of coffee nearly impossible, and each day is a desperate attempt to meet basic needs. On the streets of Caracas, young people play with Bolivar bills, the Venezuelan currency that is virtually worthless. Separately, the Times is changing how it tells stories from abroad. In addition to writing straight news stories, our correspondents will occasionally tell readers what's going through their minds as they work. Our international editor explains the format, and we'd like to know what you think. John Brennan quietly ruled over national security under President Obama. Now he's coming forward to criticize President Trump, and to defend his own legacy. Save time for this profile from the Times Magazine. Spot the ball. We've taken photos from the World Cup and made one change to each. We removed the ball. Can you guess where it was? Mexico's goalkeeper, Guillermo Ochoa, is on the left, and Germany's Mario Gomez is on the right. But where's the ball? Credit Michael Probst, Associated Press. On Tuesday, Lionel Messi provided, in part, the salvation that Argentina needed to squeak out of the group stage. Our columnist recaps the team's dramatic 2-1 win over Nigeria. Here's a look at where all of the teams stand. Today's games begin at 10 a.m. Eastern, and we'll have live scores and analysis. Are we ready to love cottage cheese again? After languishing in yogurt's shadow for decades, cottage cheese is sporting new flavors and small batch appeal. The goal, according to industry analysts, is to uncottage cottage cheese, or, as one dairy executive put it, Chobani it. Here's more from this week's food section. Best of late-night TV. Stephen Colbert, Jimmy Fallon and Conan O'Brien joined forces to respond to President Trump after he bashed the comedy hosts at rallies this week. Quotation of the day: the forcible relocation of U.S. citizens to concentration camps, solely and explicitly on the basis of race, is objectively unlawful and outside the scope of presidential authority. Chief Justice John Roberts, who formally repudiated Korematsu v. United States, the case that allowed the internment of Japanese Americans, in a ruling backing President Trump's travel ban. The Times. In other words, here's an image of today's front page, and links to our opinion content and crossword puzzles. What we're reading. Linda Richardson, an editor for our travel section, recommends this piece from NBC. Is the breaking news of late breaking you? One therapist has coined fatigue from the 24/7 news cycle. Headline: stress disorder. This piece offers ways to stay informed without damaging your mental health. As an editor, I can't go too far off the grid, but I am into podcasts. Backstory: the John Newbery Medal was awarded for the first time on this day in 1922, named after an 18th-century British publisher and father of children's literature. The award recognizes the most distinguished American children's book published the previous year. A Little Pretty Pocketbook by John Newbery was published in the mid-1700s and is considered one of the earliest books for children. Credit: British Library. Newbery demonstrated that children's literature could be profitable, but he also used his books to promote other business ventures. In The History of Little Goody Two-Shoes, a character dies because Dr. James's powder was not to be had. Fortunately for the concerned reader, Dr. James's fever powder was widely available at the time. Fortunately for Newbery, he inherited the patent. Newbery believed that children learned best through play. Accordingly, his books were intended to instruct even as they amused. For an additional 2 pence, his first children's book, A Little Pretty Pocketbook, was sold with a black and red ball or pincushion. Children could stick a pin into the red side to mark good behavior or the black side to mark when they were bad. The first Newbery Medal was awarded to The Story of Mankind, A History of the World for Children by Hendrik Willem van Loon. This year's winner was Hello, Universe, a novel by Aaron and Trada Kelly about diversity and friendship. Emma McAlevey wrote today's backstory. Your morning briefing is published weekdays and updated all morning. Browse past briefings here. Sign up here to get it by email in the Australian, Asian, European or American morning. To receive an evening briefing on U.S. weeknights, sign up here. Check out our full range of free newsletters here. What would you like to see here? Contact us at briefing@nytimes.com. Follow Chris Stanford on Twitter, @Stanford.